Hey, welcome to this week's episode. This week's episode is an absolute awesome one. Who would think that I'd be doing a Christmas special when I started this podcast? I certainly didn't. So a big thank you to you all out there who support and listen to the show. So this episode is a special one. I tried to make it a little bit different, and it certainly is that. This is with Will Lord. Will Lord is an expert in this field. He's had over 40 years of experience of being a flint master and prehistoric survivalist. He's done all sorts. Really interesting guy. I must say a big thank you to Will, who took his time out to talk to me. He didn't have to. He really didn't have to. He'd been busy. He'd been away on a trip. And looking at caves and all sorts, but I won't ruin anything now. Have to listen to find out. But don't forget to subscribe to my channel and to Will. Leave comments, like, share. If you don't comment on things you don't like or things you do like, I can't change and make things better. So please do below, and obviously share the hell out of it as well, and let's get everybody behind it. All the details you need to know are down below in the description. So please check it out, and I hope you enjoy.
Okay, my name is Will Lord, as I'm known, and my company is known as Will Lord Prehistoric Experiences, or Prehistoric Survival. That's the way it's listed up on social media. And I've grown up on a prehistoric site where I lived for 13 years, from 1975. I'm 50 now, and so I've been exposed to what we'd describe as ancient technology for pretty much 45 years of my life. And leaving Grimes Graves itself was when I realised that there was a cavity in my life that Grimes Graves itself and the landscape had been filling. What I didn't know during them years was all the skills that I'd been compiling. Some of them were hunting, some of them were tanning skins, and some of them were, well, definitely flint knapping, which is the art of being able to make stone tools out of flint. And even though I wasn't that good at it as a child, what I did is the practice that I put in paid dividends in the later years. So I began to start a little journey of weaving workshops into my life and going out to different shows where people had taken interest in having somebody that was representing a caveman at their show. And some people actually genuinely wanted to learn some of the skills that I'd been honing. Yeah, so that's how things began.
I said on the phone to you about the zombie apocalypse and what coronavirus has brought out. Have you had more interest in what you're up to since the pandemic because people are more into it, or has it been a steady state?
No, coronavirus hasn't affected me negatively. What it has done is put a positive spin into my business, and it's accentuated what I can do because I've had more time to dedicate to myself instead of dedicating it to being a deliverer of craft and skill. So I literally, at the beginning of the lockdown, I began to work deer skins, and this is a deer skin bag here. There's actually 4 deer skins there. They've been tanned using the brain of the deer. There's different types of deer here. Even the one at the back here is called a Leicester deer, and that comes from Africa. I've got fallow deer here and munkjack up the top. And because I didn't use any modern techniques at all, basically that was all brain and smoke, and it normally takes around about a week to brain turn a buckskin. So there's nearly a month's work just in one bag.
I'd heard of the brain tanning before, but not seen it done, because that's still used quite a lot out in lots of Czech, isn't it? They still use quite a bit of that out there, the locals.
Yeah.
As far as I know, anyway.
Well, there's different tanning techniques all over the world. What you'll see is there's a new following that's been going on for, well, 30 or 40 years really, particularly in America. They never really let go of primitive or ancient technology. So buckskin is very much Native American Indian by its very nature, and they tan in that dimension. And then if you move out and around the world, so if you went up into Siberia and looked at the way the Inuits tan, you're getting a whole different technique there. They use fish oils and all sorts of stuff. This jacket here, the material was made in Siberia. That's fish oil tanned full grained leather. I've just constructed that into a coat.
That's the one you had when you went to Willendorf.
I had that on at Willendorf, and I made the waistcoat to go to China to challenge Ed Stafford. But no, it's good quality leather, really good quality leather, and it's much more.
It's proper leather, isn't it?
Oh, it's different to commercial leather.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more tactile. It's got huge longevity to its lifespan. But then you can also move into sort of Africa and Mongolia, and you'll start seeing different types of tanning pits where they're using different barks and so on. So you can still ancient technology as such. It's been going on for many, many years.
I didn't realise there was such a big difference in leather, and then I got into falconry, and then realised, bloody hell, I bought, when I first got into it, as everyone does, bought a cheap shit, and you know about it, all forced to bits. Then I bought an expensive glove, which I thought was a good glove, and that was made from cheap shit. And then I went into the realms of having them properly handmade, and going into the blokes who really sort of knew what they were doing. And even though that's sort of mass-produced type leather, the difference between the two, is you know, just huge.
And it takes you into the animal kingdom as well, because you have different types of animal, different a male, female. Like for a male red deer during a rut season, its body knows what it's likely to encounter, so it builds out and it puts on a really thick, robust sequence of fibres. You've got fats that are laying in close to the skin, so what you're getting big changes going on in the skins themselves throughout the animal's life. So you can pick and choose what you're going to do and what type of skin you're going to use for projects, and that way you're not actually experiencing the hardship of trying to make something work when actually it's in the wrong situation for itself.
You said, and I read on the internet, because I've done quite a bit of googling before I come over. The flint knapping. What would you like making? Because all the things you can make. What's your go-to thing when you're twiddling about?
It's not about what I'm making, it's about the particular rock that I'm actually going to experience. So there's a bit of stone just laying here, right here, and that's as glossy black with cortex on it, and it's an absolute joy to nap a piece of stone like that. Even the whole identity of taking that down, once you get thin flakes and you've worked through it, the light comes through, you can see all the little particles in it, and that is going to be a more enjoyable rock on a lot of levels than something like this, which is a much greyer rock, you know. So each rock, I sort of feel, has something about it. And sometimes you'll go up to a rock and it's absolutely destroyed because nature has destroyed it, or it never really became a high quality thing in the first place. It was always full of holes and it was full of like oceanic debris. But the rocks will tell you a story of time all by themselves, because they actually they've been made on the bottom of the sea, and they quite often carry within them what was on the bottom of the sea. Going a bit further forward, it's not even so much about what I can make, it's about the type of things that you might have the chance to see that were made many thousands of years ago. I have a stone which was made into a chopper core to smash up bones, which is 2 million years old. When you hold something like that, you're holding an essence of mankind in time, and it stitches time together.
Yeah.
All these other things have gone, so the clothing we're not finding, not unless it's from sort of like released from the ice or something like that.
Yeah, preserved in
But
some
generally, the rocks are the opportunity to get the picture from the past. One of the things that I do like, though, stitching back to the question, is it's a huge challenge to make an ultra thin dagger and not snap it in half.
Right.
Because you're whacking this rock, and if you vibrate it, then it will just fall into two pieces. So until you stop hitting it, you just don't own it. And if you hit it pathetically, actually that's works badly against the process, because what it does is it makes it ring like a bell.
Okay.
So you've literally got to hit it with gusto, so what you was intending to come off does actually come off, otherwise you just don't make tools.
Right. Okay, school then.
Yeah, so confidence is your best friend with flint.
Okay. I'd be right there. Thrash and stuff I can do.
Confidence and accuracy, and a little bit of foresight to shape, that all comes in.
Is there anything you want to do, like with the rocks, which you haven't done yet? Obviously you've been into it for some time, so you've hit a lot of goals you want to do, but...
Well, yes, and I think I'm doing that, which is, for example, I've just been out to Austria, because I went on a journey to find, I went to Vienna to meet Venus Willendorf. Venus Willendorf is a carving that was 30,000 years old.
I saw that, and it's in such good shape.
She's well shaped and she's well defined, and the carving is good. So I then went on from Vienna, and I went into the Czech Republic to the Moravian Valley to find something called a oolitic limestone, and I found that there was many different types of rock there, and eventually I settled with the fact that I'd got one. And then when I set about it with the flint, I knew that I can convert flint into tools which essentially can approach some pretty robust stone. But I had a vision in my mind that the limestone was going to be easy to carve, or this particular thing that I got was solid. It was really struggling. You know, the flint tools weren't standing up to it, so I was going through the material that I'd taken, but eventually I successfully pulled a goddess out of this stone. Not the Venus Willendorf, but it was an adventure. It was a way of taking stone and putting stone to task. One of the things I'd also like to do is actually, at some point in my life, hunt with flint.
Yeah.
Because the game industry is something that I would have a hell of a lot of respect for. I'm not airy-fairy about it, and I don't appreciate people that just want to stick holes in animals and call themselves hunters. I think that the whole industry, which is your industry, is a well-respected, understandable craft. And I don't think anybody has the right to go and hunt a deer with a bow and arrow, because you need to know the science behind it. You need to get at the right position. But I think it would be an extraordinary thing to do, to actually put the flint tip on the bow that you've made, on the arrow shaft that you've made, get in the right position, and actually make that happen. And then use the whole deer, every single piece of it up. Well, there's always waste. There's no denying that. There's always waste, but you can do your best. You can use the skin, you can use the brains, you can use the guts, you can use the bones, you can use the tendons, and you can use the meat, and you can use the fat. And there's going to be waste, like I said, but actually if you looked at the order of what you brought back out of that situation, that's quite a lot of provision to yourself.
Yeah. I'm sure there must be somewhere you can go and do that.
I could go off into Bulgaria. It probably wouldn't be a deer then, it'd probably be more like a wild boar or something.
Rather you than me with them.
Yeah, well, same as really.
I've seen some real horror stories then. I've got a friend who went out that way shooting boar, and got told not to move from where he was stood, and then moved from where he was stood, and the boar came sort of straight at him, and it could have been an absolute nut. He got lucky,
Yeah.
But it could have been a nasty bloody accident.
It's quite interesting because sometimes when you look at tribal leaders from tribes around the world, you quite often see that they have neck pieces made, and it's not an unusual sight to see wild boar tusks on a neck piece, and you can see that that's a very testimonial trophy. You know, I took a wild boar. It's like, yes, because you're the man, you know.
Yeah. Yes, I've the hunting dogs has always been my thing. A big lurcher man, and terriers, and that's how I got into the falconry. To go out to New Zealand and hunt the boar with the dogs has been the thing that's on my bucket list. But it's done properly. I've watched a lot of videos in America, and it's, I wouldn't say it's cowboy, but it's cowboy.
Yeah.
Very close. Not my thing, I suppose, is the right phrase. But in New Zealand, they use a dog, they hunt them up. The dogs don't really sort of hit them. They sort of bay on them, keep them back, and they shoot them with a rifle, and that's sort of
as a payoff.
The way I like it. But I'm quite happy to work something, lose it, and have a nice hunt on something, and be just as happy that got away and worked its arse off and got away from us, if you know what I mean. I'm happy with the work. But
one of the things that, being from my perspective and persuasion, that has actually been quite enjoyable, because at the end of the day, a bow it's a very inefficient machine because you've got to get so close to use it. So trapping becomes a very sensible way of looking at the land. And once you get into traps, I know we have modern ones, but the word associated to it is called a primitive trap because it might be used in a tribe.
That was just going through my mind then.
But it's anything other than a primitive trap, because what you're getting is what you can store power into systems, and you can have triggers and foot plate trigger releases, and so you're getting hammer traps, scissor traps, netting traps, and all of the different ways of actually conjuring up the possibility of a trap, and it does get a broad science, and it's very good fun.
One of the things still used to very good effectiveness is a drop trap.
Right.
So in a fence line, you also use them quite a lot in stone walls. So you've got a box dug in the ground with a tunnel going through it, and what happens is when you put a weight on the trap, so when a rabbit runs through, it can run through.
Yeah.
They get used to using it, and then after a week, 10 days, whatever of it being run, or even might even be 6 months to the next sort of trapping time, you release that brick or that weight, and then rabbit goes through, drops straight through the hole into the box, and that is still used now. And that, if you could have like you said, the primitive route, as it was talking about, that's the most primitive trap you could ever think of, but actually it's one of the best things going. It really is. I've caught 5 or 6 rabbits in one go.
Yeah.
Just put your hand in the box, pull on, break the necks. They're clean. Just great. I love it.
Well, we have a little rhyme called strangle it, mangle it, dangle it, or tangle it, and out of all of them, the net is the most efficient thing. Because you can lay it flat on the ground, you can use it in the sky, you can drop it into water, you can use it in a threefold dimension. And but it's such an unscrupulous thing, huh?
Yeah.
And soon and accordingly illegal.
Yeah.
Which is one of the problems.
Our laws are so stringent in the UK.
Some people would like to see the real Stone Age, like, hey, we went and killed this and we did this, but actually in this country pretty much nothing that I would make would be legal to use.
No.
So I'd have to go abroad to use it. So consequently to that, what I've done is I've redesigned myself around an identity which essentially is experimental archaeology. So I try out lots of different fibres to find out whether they work for binding.
Yeah. Different
things for glues. I get interested in clay technology and looking at how things work. So it's all about, if you wanted to look at it from a sensible perspective. You're dealing with engineering, but you're dealing with an engineering from the perspective of planet Earth. So if you wanted to re-describe it, it's Earthcraft.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was going to touch on that because that's one of those things that I read, online about it and how you've been tweaking the science as it was and testing the boundaries, and why not? Because that's what our ancestors done, and that's how that's how we come, that's how we are today, I suppose. But it's that discovery that makes it just as good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Well, the unfortunate thing about archaeology as such is you can put tweed jackets with leather shoulder pads on and brill cream on your head and bore the hell out of everybody by telling the story. It used to be like that, it was very, very grey in the face. And one of the things I've prided myself on is bringing archaeology to life through a bit more action.
Yeah.
Actually getting in there and shaking off the dust from that perspective. And I know very well now that the experience that I've created has been something that people value and can actually attach their minds to, because it's accessible.
Brings to life, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's
It's
accessible, it's accessible to anybody.
That was a thing that, not that I don't find it as interesting, but when a friend of mine said, my mate Will, he does this, what do you think? I went, yeah, you need to talk to him, because this is, like you said, you've got your archaeologist, that would your standard, what you think one of them person would be, a bit like an agronomist, boring, and then you've got you to the left of it who's saying, actually, if you come here,
yeah,
I'll show you.
Well, I've got 130,000 people following me on social media platforms now, on Instagram, YouTube, and a Facebook page. I've got a fan club on Facebook where people actually
that is awesome.
Put a little bit of money in to help me, support me with my journeys, and the craft has actually paid my bills, it's paved the way, and it's given me an accessible life.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, so that's what it's about.
The next stage of the journey, so the COVID bit has slightly stood in my way, but it didn't stop me to go into Austria, is that I decided I was going to go and visit every single archaeological site that's ever inspired me, and some of them are absolutely so off of them. They are awesome with what they've got to say, and so I thought, well, you've got about 30 in mind, and I thought, well, what you should do is you should do something called a prehistoric road trip, which I've already begun, and I've started putting them movies onto my social media platforms. And this is anything from visiting caves to mining malachite out of the Great Orme copper mine and smelting the malachite into copper, making a copper axe from it, going into caves where ochre is found, the stuff they painted the cave walls with, and actually mining ochre from deep in the ground. And so I'm having some extraordinary experiences, really extraordinary experiences.
Awesome, especially when that's your passion. That's double bubble, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's feeding that itch which you love so much, and actually it's keeping the roof over your head at the same time.
Well, it's all doing that, and hopefully it's enjoyable for people to watch.
100%. I like I said, I saw on social media your Austria trip and your caves, which looked fabulous. It's.
And so that's currently how things stand in the life of Will Lord.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the hell out of the podcast. Like I said, without you guys, I can't make this happen, and especially I can't, without Will, I couldn't make this episode happen. So thank you all very much for your time, and thank you very much for your comments. I enjoy reading them when I get them, and I enjoy reading the emails when I get them too. For any info in the episode, you can check out the links below either for myself or for Will's websites and his courses and bits and pieces. But apart from that, the only thing I've got to say is Merry Christmas, and I will see you later on in the new year. Ta-da!